What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with the RK Outpost, and when it comes to MCU Phase 4, I guess all that some of us can say is we told you so. We told you that this would happen. As soon as Marvel and Kevin Feige specifically started pushing identity politics and virtue signaling ahead of quality storytelling, you knew that this was going to happen. You knew that they were going to push people away after everything that they have done with this franchise. And MCU Phase 4, in a lot of ways, looks to be dead in the water, with the exception of maybe one outlier, which we will talk about in this video. But the focus is going to be Shang-Chi, because Shang-Chi, when it came out, or when we saw what it was going to be, when we saw the first trailers, it looked like one of the most uninteresting things imaginable. And it also looked like they were clearly pandering. And China is not taking very well to this pandering. They don't like to be pandered to, evidently, and they're not interested in Shang-Chi. And apparently, neither is the United States box office. Look at this. Shang-Chi expected to have worst opening weekend ever for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And everyone could have predicted this. We have seen what they've done with these Disney Plus shows, which have just been one dumpster fire after the next. Black Widow, we saw what Black Widow was, and how Black Widow has lost money. And it's led to this massive Scarlett Johansson lawsuit because she's so embarrassed about it. But now you have the projections for Shang-Chi, which, according to all reports, Shang-Chi in that box office is going to affect whether they release the other dumpster fire that is Eternals, where every character is race or gender or sexuality swapped. That's going to be another nightmare because they don't want to put it out either. But look at this from Bounding Into Comics. John F. Trent. Marvel Studios and Disney's upcoming Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings, starring Simu Liu and Awkwafina, is expected to have the worst opening weekend ever for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Box office tracking website Box Office Pro predicted earlier this month that Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is only expected to have an opening weekend between 35 million and 55 million. And that is a decent range. We see that a lot of these box office things. It is going to be interesting because Disney and Marvel have basically this enormous built-in advertising machine. They can put it all over ESPN. They can literally play it on during basketball games, during football games. Like, they can show you, they can just do tickers where it advertises for it. They do little spots in Sports Center to advertise for it. Obviously, the Disney Channel itself, ABC, they have all these different outlets where they are just a advertising mega corporation, and they can do it, and they can push it out there. What effect is that going to have? Is that going to be able to get anyone to this box office? Certainly seems like people don't think so. If this prediction holds, Shang-Chi will have the worst opening weekend in the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever. The current holder is The Incredible Hulk that was released back in 2008. 2008. The Incredible Hulk had an opening weekend of 55 million. But if you factor in inflation, of course, that would be 70 million. We're not going to talk about inflation because this one wouldn't even be fucking close if that was the case. We're talking about non-inflation. We're talking about non-inflation. This movie will be the worst in the MCU. And everyone's going to make every single kind of excuse you can. I guarantee you, there's a couple of you fucking weirdos in my comments right now saying, but people are scared to go to the theaters right now. I guarantee you're saying that. Well, we're going to have some evidence that maybe proves the contrary, that people are willing to go to public spaces, are willing to do these things, just not for the MCU, or not for Hollywood in general. Not only is Shang-Chi predicted to have the worst opening weekend in the MCU, but it's predicted to be the worst performing MCU film at the domestic box office for its entire run in theaters. They're predicting between 100 and 165 million. Looking at the top end, it would only beat the Hulk, but only if you don't count for inflation, of course. Absolutely pathetic. As for why, Box Office Pro claims one of the main factors is severe rise in virus cases and hospitalization among unjabbed population. That's weird, that all these jabbed people would be so worried to go. I mean, they're fine, right? That's why they got it. They'll be okay. I don't know. That doesn't quite make sense to me. According to the University of Minnesota, this is talking about shifting the goalposts. How was cases? We were worried about cases. Then we were worried about deaths. Then we were worried about hospitalizations. And they continue to shift the goalposts to maintain control over a population. That's a different video altogether. However, blaming the pandemic doesn't really make sense when the CEO of Live Nation is claiming live concert tickets are being sold out faster than ever. CEO Michael Rapino said during his company's first financial quarter call, fans are buying tickets and events are selling out faster than ever. So you have these live concerts that have opened back up in a lot of places. People are buying them at record numbers because people want to go out and they want to be together. They want to do things in public. So surprisingly, they're not being affected by all of this. Isn't that strange? It's only the MCU box office. It's only the Hollywood people that are being affected. Maybe people realized that with all this time away from theaters that they don't really miss it that much. That maybe they're tired of being pandered to by these elitist fucks. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. Is there any more evidence? He added, we're just seeing demand beyond any other historic moment. Garth Brooks this morning broke every Ticketmaster record. Deadline reports he sold over 50,000 tickets in less than 30 minutes for his upcoming concert in Utah. That concert did take place in July. Virginia Tech just reported that the Hokies and nearly every big sporting event is selling out just like this. Of course, they're in Blacksburg. They sold out very quickly of their 66,000 seats. For some reason, people weren't worried about that, yet they're worried about going to Shang-Chi. They're just too scared. Of course, NASCAR. Look at the NASCAR race. They sold out all 38,000 seats in the facility. On top of that, Black Widow opened just shy of 2 months ago and had an opening weekend of $80 million. That was good for 6th worst opening weekend for the MCU. And that was before some of this variant stuff, the hardcore variant fear-mongering came out. It is absolutely so ridiculous. They also point to the fact the film's releasing on Labor Day weekend. Every excuse they can possibly use. Every excuse they can possibly use. But we know the truth. We know why this is happening. We know why. Because people aren't interested in this shit anymore. People have been turned off by Marvel Phase 4. Now, the one thing that I do think will pop is probably going to be the next Spider-Man movie. No Way Home. When you look at the reaction that people had to that trailer, when you look at the number of views that trailer had compared to Eternals and Shang-Chi, it blows them out of the water. People are clearly still interested in that because I think it's characters that they care about. I think a lot of people are invested just because of the idea of seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as their respective Spider-Men. I think that's very intriguing, but by and large, when you look at the rest of this dog shit, people do not care. These Disney Plus shows that have preached to you and try to make you feel bad for whether it's who you vote for or the color of your skin, that turns people off sometimes. It just does. When you look at Loki, when you look at Falcon and Winter Soldier, when you look at these garbage tier shows, it's turned people off. People are not interested in a lot of the MCU anymore. Some people may have been like, I'm coming back for Black Widow, and they were probably pretty disappointed because it did not hold very well in the box office. It just didn't. The word of mouth got around, and people were done with it. And a lot of people are done with the MCU, and all we can do is sit here and say, we told you. When you decide to make this your priority, like Kevin Feige has over and over again, when you decide to put identity politics and virtue signaling and social justice, you decide you want over half of your heroes in Phase 4 to be a certain gender or a certain color. You lose the aspect of storytelling, and everything goes in the dumpster. And that's what we're seeing with the MCU. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.